Hi, Rob. Good morning. Hi, Mac.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Hi. Okay. All right. All right, we'll get started here in a few minutes. Just let everybody here join. All right, I'll make sure I bring the attendance down.
You want to write it down or we can
All right, yeah, that's okay. I'll send you an email with everybody.
technically Amber does this stuff.
All right, Rob just went to the head call. If you're in, you gotta stay. Didn't know she could run that fast. All right, good morning. Hey, Kyle, how's it going?
Hey, good morning, Rob. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing excellent. Doing excellent. All right. Let's see. Did anybody get any of those books from our last meeting that Dean recommended? Okay. That's all right. No worries. One of the guys he mentioned, Jocko Willick or Wilnick. I followed him on Twitter, and that guy he was pretty intense. That guy is. He wakes up every morning at 4:30 and starts his day, and so I kind of just neat to see other people's perspective and how much fire and drive some other people have. It's kind of crazy. So good for him. I'm not up at 4:30, but that's all right. All right, so we're going to start our provisional broker meeting here today. Like I sent in the text yesterday, so we'll talk about some smart talk, some things that are going on in the Charlotte MLS right now, stuff that we can actually use when you're talking to people out in the field. We'll talk about some other some tips and some tricks of what's kind of changed over the past couple of months because of the coronavirus. We'll talk about some of those tactics, and then a buyer and seller dispute over an inspection report regarding a roof. So we'll talk about that and the due diligence. But first thing I want to start off is let's go around. Past couple of weeks, it has been busy. I know people have been getting some listings, working with some buyers, sending out referrals to different parts of the country. So if we can start around, we'll do a round robin and just share a win that you've had over the past couple of weeks. And Mac, I'll start with you if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a couple wins here in the last couple of weeks. The first win is I finished up my post licensing, so I am no longer technically a provisional broker, though I still don't feel like I'm quite ready to be a regular broker. And the second win is I did get my first listing, and we finally got it listed. It was probably a 2-month process to get it listed. And it went under contract on the first day.
Wonderful. Good job.
Yeah, awesome. Good job, Max. So Matt came into he came in one day last week, and we're just making sure all the paperwork and the forms are right off. And yeah, that's right. I mean, boy, he sent everything on Friday, put it in the MLS. It was 159 on Saturday. You know, he's already Sunday already under contract. So good job, Mac. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Autumn, can you share a win that you've had over the past couple of weeks, please?
Well, I joined the North Carolina Realtors Association and got my super key and MLS stuff. So that was a big thing for me.
Hey, that certainly is a win. All right, good. I know they're still lagged behind, and I keep telling people to keep calling them. But good. All right, so now you can show houses if somebody says, hey, let's show a house, you can do that, or you can put a lockbox on and get a listing.
Yes, that's what I
All right,
want.
Kyle. Right, exactly. Okay, good. Well, you got to take it in each of these steps. So good. I'm glad you have the MLS. We're going to have another MLS class here in the next couple of weeks. So we just kind of go over some tips and tricks on MLS to learn where some of the buttons are. So make sure you attend that one there.
I would love to.
All right, Kyle. Kyle, how are you, sir? Can you share a win that you've had over the past couple of weeks?
Hey guys, yeah. I got a really awesome win. Actually, I had an appointment on Saturday with a FISBO, which was really cool, really exciting. And how that whole thing kind of got started was my daycare provider basically lives right in the same cul-de-sac as the for sale by owner. And her and I have always talked about real estate. She used to do real estate in Pennsylvania. And every time I see her, I always talk about real estate, right? We always want to stay fresh in people's minds, especially when something like this occurs. So after talking to her a couple times, and she was in the cul-de-sac, I guess, hanging out with the kids and talking to them, and she had mentioned to them, which I had mentioned to her, about Keller Offers, which was just a really cool tool that now we have access to. And so their situation is basically they're actually building a home right down the street. And, you know, they wanted to meet with me and kind of discuss the Keller Offers, which Tommy Hall has access to, who's one of my team leads. And Tommy came with me. And sure enough, they signed consent for us to put an offer through to Keller Offers. So we're just awaiting all the paperwork and the actual offer to come through.
Okay.
Being that they have about another 2 months or so
Wow. Okay, now
construction-wise. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry, I lost you there for a second.
To the next house. Okay. Well, that's neat. That's good. Now, Kyle, what's their asking price?
Right now, they're looking. I brought over a CMA because I figured that was going to be one of their questions that they were going to ask, how much their house was worth. Right now, where it sits, they're about $265,000.
That's what your market analysis came back at?
That's where my market analysis came in at the in the neighborhood that they're currently living in.
Okay, is that the market analysis? Is that from your homework? 265.
265. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what were they asking? You said for sale by owner. What was their asking price? I'm just curious.
They weren't going to work with a realtor. They were going to ask. I believe it was about 250 is what they were going to ask without a realtor. And
Interesting.
Yeah. So if they had to were to use a realtor either on the listing side or buyer side, they were, obviously going to adjust the price accordingly. So I feel like even if the offer does come in, so I figure if the offer does come in a little low, I still have a ton of leverage to give them. And as far as, being able to show them value as far as what I can bring to the table, even if they were to pay me 6% to list the home. So, like I said, it's all about making that appointment and getting your foot in the door. So
yeah, absolutely, Kyle. Well, good. There's a lot of good talking points that you have. It's a lot of value that you're bringing to when you're meeting and talking with them. So good. You're right. Good. Yeah. Maybe if that Keller Offers doesn't work, from all the work that you're doing right now, you should be able to get a listing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. David, you just joined us. How are you, sir? Where I'm going around and I'm sharing a win over the past 2 weeks. Can you share something that positive that you've done since our last meeting?
So I got a client, a buyer client, and I've been showing them a couple of houses. That's all I got right now. All I got going on right now.
Okay, you had a possible buyer, right? That wanted to put an offer. Did that ever come to fruition?
We had to put in a backup offer, but it didn't fall through. So I guess they sold that property, and now we're just out here still looking. So
Still looking. Okay, fair enough. Well, that's a win. Yeah, you have a qualified buyer that's making offers. So good. Okay.
Wonderful.
All right, Rob. We have a handful of people in here in the office, and thanks for joining us here. I'd like to see people as well too. So, Rob, can you please share a win that you've had over the past 2 weeks?
Well, it seems to have slowed down a little bit for me, and I'm sure that's me. I've got several things going on.
Okay.
Maybe that's one of them. No sales. Most recently, I was in West Virginia week before last, and met with a family doing some other stuff. I met with a family who had just purchased a home in Lake Norman.
Okay.
The $7 million range, and their son wants to purchase a home also. So they told me that I can certainly help them with their son the next time they're in town, which is supposed to be within the next couple of weeks. So I'm staying on top of that.
Couple of weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. They actually went and looked at one of a home that supposedly one of the NASCAR drivers.
Oh, really?
So that's how I know that the price range that they're looking at.
Okay.
I want to be on the water, all that. I've got, I'm struggling with the FSBO, and I've talked to you about that. It's a commercial listing.
Right.
They still have the for sale by owner sign stuck in the yard. I stay on top of them once or twice a week, contact.
Yeah,
them.
definitely.
I'm
Okay.
ready to do something. I've got another commercial strip plaza listing that I'm trying to get. They've got another realtor's sign on the property right now. The listing has expired. They're not happy with that person. So again, that's somebody that I'm staying on top of.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good.
You know, I've given them all of my analysis and whatnot. So, hopefully that'll come to fruition pretty quick. And probably one of the better things I've got is a builder. He's probably got about 15 houses that he's building now. So he builds a lot of houses. He builds them back,
Okay.
sells them. And he wants me to find him lots anywhere in the Charlotte area, like within a 25-mile, 30-mile radius of the Charlotte area, lots that are less than 50,000, so that he can build houses. That's his price point. And I struggle finding it. I find him a lot. I get it over to him. By the time he's done his little research on it, a lot goes in there.
Yeah,
so
sure. Very common.
stuff goes so quick. So I'm struggling with that's just the market struggle. I mean, there's not much more I can do about that.
Yeah.
Other than getting him moved quick.
Yeah, you got to get some people to move quicker.
Yeah,
It's
literally,
very difficult.
I find
but-
him a lot, and it's like the next day of the contract.
Yeah, unfortunately, what you got to kind of do is you kind of got to scold them, and right from the beginning, hey, here's the deal. You want to do something on it? We got to do on it right now.
And the fact that he's building 15 houses right now, maybe once he gets a couple of those locked out and under, behind him, then he'll start moving a little bit quicker. I wrote him a contract for one already down in Indian Trail area.
Right.
And it turned into a backup contract. So now it's sitting there as a backup contract right
Okay.
now. So
Well, it sounds like you got a lot of little things going on here or there. So that's good though. You got to
I
still
need-
stay on them.
you get something that's going to pay the bills. Though.
Yeah, I understand. So you got to continue. You have those ones that are follow up. That's part of your lead gen, but you got to do new lead gen every single day.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for sharing so much. Thank you. All right, Lindsay. Hi. How are you? You're on fire. So what do you got going on past couple of weeks?
I'm good. I'm working on my first MLS listing.
Right.
Hopefully upload that by today.
Today. Okay. Good. Did you take the photos? Okay. Good.
Took the photos and saw two buyers on my list that I'm working on.
How many buyer agency contracts do you have right now signed?
For
4 buyer agency contracts.
and I
Awesome.
had my first closing this September.
Okay. Couple weeks here. Okay. What I'm most impressed about is 4 buyer agency contracts. Those are 4 people that are locked, pre-approved, that you're going through the process. We'll talk about that. Someone's not going to sign with you or not listen to your advice. Not worth working with right now because of everything that's going on. So awesome. Congratulations. Good job on it. All right, good. And Pam, hi, how are you? What do you got going on? Here's a win for the past couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
I just got a phone call yesterday, which it was somewhat out of the blue from a friend who said he's ready to sell and he's ready to buy. So
Okay, so a
We did it
friend.
without- Yeah.
How did they call you, or what? Do you know why, or did you say, because I know you're recently just got your license, you're in the office. How did that conversation start?
Well, I knew from years, I mean, long-time friends, we're very close.
Okay.
From years past, they've talked about selling, and that's kind of fallen off the radar. And so he just said it's just time. The market's good to sell.
It is. Now let me ask you, is this person, their name, their address, their phone number, and email address in your command?
No.
Okay, so, okay, put them in there.
Yeah.
Any of your buddy
No,
in
I
your
take that
database?
back. I take that back. No, they are in my command.
Okay, so they're in your database.
Yes.
That's a win then. Okay, good. Awesome. That's a win because that's someone that's ready to do business.
Yes, he's right.
And I didn't know if it was from you calling your database and a friend just saying, hey, I'm with Keller Williams. I just started. So when you're in front of them, having that conversation, these types of opportunities are going to come up.
Yeah.
So good. Awesome. Good
Yeah.
job with that. And you have a commercial listing that you're trying to get rented out.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. That'll be good positive cash flow for yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Awesome. Okay, good. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
All right, everybody. Well, that's been great here. So let's get started and dive right into this information from the MLS and stuff that's going on here in the market. Okay. Here we are. This is directly from Canopy MLS. Taking a closer look at 2020 sales through all of the Charlotte region. See if I'll pick it up here. Okay, so this was pulled directly from the MLS, and this is type of information that you're going to want to use when you're out in the field, when you're talking to potential clients or potential buyers or even sellers. So we'll see here, businesses across the region continue to adjust to reopening, while the Charlotte area home sales show stronger signs that the market has recovered. Is that true? I mean, I know we're still in phase 2, but you can certainly see that. What are the type of other businesses that are starting to come back? People, you can get haircuts now, right? I think you can take your dogs to the groomers. You can go out there and do some of the businesses. Some of the restaurants are thriving a little bit more now than they were a couple of months ago. So what I have in my notes here, this is a good opportunity to do your business to business referrals. Calling the barbershop. All right, let's go do that. Calling like the barbershop, calling these different businesses, and the script is, hey, my name is Rob Pettit. I'm here with Keller Williams, and I did this. I called one of the barbershops in Mooresville. Yeah, I see. Anytime I have somebody that's going to come and sit in your chair, if you hear them say, hey, I want to buy a house or move or sell my house, would you give the opportunity and mention my name about real estate? In return, now that your shop is open, we can get haircuts. I work with a lot of buyers that are moving to the area. I'm going to mention, hey, you should go to Joe's Barbershop in Mooresville to get your haircut. Things are going on, so let's talk to each other and do business to business referrals. It's just a way to go out there to get another way to get another conversation. Now, tell me what business owner wouldn't want you to talk about them. I mean, that's any business owner. So any of these businesses that need more exposure, it's just a phone call. And some of these smaller personal ones, dog groomers, places where you get your nails done, hair barbershops, dog groomers, even pizza places. Some of the bars are not really right now, but so business to business referrals is something that could make your spread your business out a little bit more now. All right, as a result of significant gains over the last 2 months in pending contract activity, closed sales rose 11.4% over last year. So closed sales were up 10.8% compared to June of 2020. So from last year, July of 2019, our closed sales were up 11.4%. The market was really good last year. But look how these numbers here, how good they are right now. And compared to June to now, 10%, or from June to July, a 10% increase in sales. That's just the pandemic. It's shown, all the signs are showing that we are recovering and this market is coming back. So pending contract activity shows buyers are eager to purchase. Pending contracts and demand has returned to pre-pandemic levels. So in January and February, the market was strong. I mean, the beginning of the year, it was like an early spring market, and then in March, things came to a halt. Contracts rose significantly for a third consecutive month and were up 23.7% compared to a year ago in July of 2019. The increased demand coupled with tight supply will mean price increases in some multiple offer situations in highly sought after areas. Okay, what I have here is highlighted pending contract activity shows buyers are eager to purchase. I mean, out of those 4 buyers that you have signed up for a buyer agency, what's the time frame really for like most of them?
I mean, they said it's a 6 month, but most of them, majority want to buy it in 2 months.
Okay, they find something that they want to be active on it. Okay, awesome. So, I mean, what I have also highlighted on this is when you're in multiple offers, your due diligence and your earnest money, that's going to make your offer strong. I mean, a higher due diligence that's more money to the client, to the seller. It's non-refundable. It shows that the buyer has some skin in the game, and if they close, it goes towards the purchase price anyway. So if you know you have a good property, don't be, I mean, there is no set number. Like someone say, hey, I'm making an offer. What's the due diligence? What's the average due diligence? There is none. I've seen the due diligence vary, and depending on the seller. Like I had a listing that was in the $330 price range, and we had it under contract, and I think it was only $500 due diligence, and that fell apart. So the next time we got an offer, that lady was like, I'm not doing $500. It was only like, they only had like a 3-week time frame. So the next time we got an offer, it was like $2,000 for due diligence, and I just negotiated that because that was a bigger factor. I think they came down on their sale price a lot, but they wanted more due diligence to stick that person in there. So it depends, but just remember, due diligence is a high good factor to a seller because they get that money right up front. Okay, fortunately, seller confidence, which is illustrated by new listings, has started to recover and rose 4.1% year over year this month as sellers brought 5,868 properties to the market. New listings have been down year over year since February 2020, right when the pandemic started. And sellers who were hesitant to list during the pandemic needed time and realtors to adapt to virtual showings and virtual tours. Realtors continue to take a number of precautions to ensure that all parties in the transaction remain safe. Still some sellers that are going to want to wait. Still some sellers that say, hey, I don't know if I want people to come through my house yet. But a lot of them, people that are putting their house on the market now are seeing a good increase, a good price, and usually getting what they're looking for. So just remember, you're still going to have that safety conversation with sellers, but listings are still really low. So inventory is very low for the Charlotte region, and it's unchanged compared to June of 2020. It remains the lowest that we've seen on record with a 1.3 month of supply. So this will continue to impact prices, especially given the increased competition among buyers. We are in a seller's market. Sellers have control over, how much due diligence they want. When's their timing frame? They have a lot of control right now because there's no inventory. A lot of people want to buy, but there's not much inventory for them to choose from. So you know what? That's the nature of real estate. Again, focus on listings. If you can get listings, even overpriced listings, if they're in good condition, you might get some activity. Mac, when he came in this week, I asked him, what's your price point of this listing? $159. And he said, I think it's overpriced. And I asked him, well, what's the condition of it? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, all brand new, updated at, I think he said 8 or a 9. So it was all brand new. And it went under contract in the weekend. So there's not a lot of stuff for people to choose from, and stuff in good condition will get activity and could get some offers. So no such thing as a bad listing in my eyes.
So it actually went under contract.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said it actually went under contract over asking.
Oh, go ahead, Mac.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
You got me now?
Look at that. Look at that. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Matt. Yeah, we heard you over asking, and again, it was $159. So I mean, that's a first-time home buyer sweet spot, right? I mean, what's their monthly payment? It's going to be under $1,000. It's pretty cheap, so good for them. That was up in Statesville. So sellers who are ready to list have the opportunity to receive high visibility for their listings and spend less time on the market. So they're averaging 36 days on the market now, which means that they're selling nearly as fast as they're listed. So when it says average days on market, that takes into account going from under contract and then to close, it's usually going to be about 30 days if they're getting financing or stuff. But you can see days on market average 36 days. That's very, very good. And then the last thing, which is basically a recap, as long as the sales and new listing activity remains positive, employment remains stable, and mortgage rates are at historical lows, this activity should be sustainable. So based on these numbers and based on the activity, Canopy MLS does not expect to see any type of downturn or anything like that in the next coming months. So it is an election year. Things are going to get a little weird in November, but this next few months, all the signs are showing if you get a listing or you're in multiple offer situation, you're in competition. And this is pulled directly from Canopy. So these are good talking points that you can use when you're out in the field based on some of the numbers that is directly from the MLS. So, I mean, you're on a listing appointment with the for sale by owner. You could be able to use some of these talking points and, where did you get that number? Well, I'm not making it up. It's directly from Canopy MLS. Compared to last month to this month, June 2020, there's this number of listings, 1.3. Can you send that paper? I will. I certainly can. All right, moving on here. This is just the snapshot of the housing market for the Charlotte region. So your average sale price, $344. That's for the whole Charlotte region. In our office, Cornelius, we're about $300. That's the average sale price roughly for this office. Average list price, that's again for the Charlotte region. Your median sales price, $285. That's the number right in the middle. 50, right? So inventory for home sales, 5,000, 5580, new listings, 5868. Closed pendings, average days on market and 1.3 month supply. So 6 months of inventory is considered a balanced market that equally benefits buyers and sellers. That would be enough buyers in the market and enough sellers in the market for 6 months. We have 1.3 months of inventory. So that means if there was no more listings put on the market today, in 1.3 months, there would be no listings left. So that's a low number of listings that we have. That's what that means, months of supply. All right, let's talk about some positive changes that this pandemic has forced on our business. Now, some of you guys are brand new, which is okay. So right when you started, some of you joined in March or right around through this past couple of months. So you don't know any different than what happened, a couple years back. So when we're talking about these tips and topics, these are all points that are going to present opportunities that will differentiate yourself from your competitors in ways that are both meaningful and purposeful. Okay, so in addition to calling your database, letting your family and friends know that you joined Keller Williams, you're in the business, call me if you need any help, I'm here for you. Lead generating, these are some of the changes that we've done and we're kind of getting used to here. And some points that we've actually even kind of talked about already. So you and your clients, you've been forced to get comfortable with video communication, which will help expand your reach to prospects and grow your business tremendously, right? We have to do these Zoom meetings. I mean, I'm still a big advocate of trying to get face-to-face, but you know what? In March and April, we weren't able to do that. So the agents that were calling for sale by owner still and doing a Zoom meeting or going on FaceTime with them, I mean, they were still getting some listings. Very difficult. That was a difficult conversation, but it's been forcing us to get better with this type of communication. A lot of buyers were showing properties through virtual tour, and then the buyer would go home and the buyer's agent would go home and then they would talk about how they're going to do their communication or how they're going to write the offer right through Zoom. So even if we're well-versed in video, we now have to think more deeply on how to use it creatively and effectively. So face-to-face meetings are still the pinnacle. That's going to be the best when you have your A game on. But they've been difficult to arrange with social distancing. So you can still reach people through video, you can set up Zoom meetings through FaceTime, and being able to get comfortable with that. I mean, I remember the first provisional broker meeting that we did here when I was on Zoom compared to now. And like just me, I mean, that's just something as we're getting evolved and we're getting better. Now feel comfortable doing these Zoom meetings. I still like when people come here to get to see their faces. And I'm usually was walking around my step now that I can stay in front of the computer. But it's good. All right, so we've eliminated time wasters from the home search and transaction process without sacrificing information, education, or the personal touch, right? Buyers that we call looky-loos, that just wanted to go look at a property, those people are out of the market. Maybe they had a job, or they got laid off, or whatever, they're now on unemployment. So most people that were those looky-loos, those time wasters, wouldn't sign buyer agency contracts either. So we've eliminated those time wasters. Let's get them out of our way. Sign the buyer agency contract. Let's work with our sellers. Let's get our listing agreements. People that are actually, it's now important to limit the number of people who visit a home in person, right? If you got a listing, people weren't just going to go and walk around and look. So that certainly helped. That put that to an end. And getting buyers pre-approved for a mortgage before even going on home tours. I mean, that's always been a factor anyway, but now even more so. Like you just blame COVID, right? Hey, because of COVID, we absolutely have to have this pre-approval letter done before we look or go to view any homes. You know, it's what's needed to be done. But if you have to blame something to get it done, to get it past that person, that's what you got to do. Looky-loos. Serious buyers to the front. Video, whether it's live or pre-recorded, it enables you to educate your clients at the exact time they need it most in the transaction, while maintaining a level of personal attentive that's so important to buyers and sellers. You figured out how to be more efficient without losing the human guidance consumers crave. So excellent. I totally agree 100% with that. You've improved convenience for your customers, most notably through technology, by pushing the use of virtual tours into the mainstream. So that makes buyers even more giving them more informed choices without having to leave the home. It gives sellers peace of mind that you can represent their property without putting their health at risk. Think about buyers who are now purchasing homes sight unseen. Investors have done business this way for years. While buying a home this way isn't for everyone, the ability to make the home search as easy as possible is a time saver for everyone. Let's face it, the easier you make the journey, the faster you get to the destination. So, I mean, even before this pandemic, have people buying properties sight unseen, or people looking at brand new construction through virtual tours or through FaceTime wasn't that uncommon. I mean, people did do that around here because, one, they wanted to move to this area because it's a thriving area. So it's just, even now, most single family homes, we didn't do that, but now that we know, it's just so much easier. It can be so much easier. Sight unseen, people want to get into that development, that area. It's all about location. So using that technology has been able to push through, enable us to do more business. You now understand the power of social media as a serious source of business. All right, now who done a Facebook ad? Has anybody in this group done a Facebook ad? Pam, you did one, okay. Did you get any results from there?
I started to, but then I'm having some glitchy stuff with I'm not getting my leads in.
Okay.
So I'm talking to, so I halted it, but I mean, I know Katrina has put together.
You're right.
She's like killing it.
I got in.
And same with,
It-
yeah, absolutely. So now, right, everybody that was home, they just like the usage of Facebook. I mean, even us, right? People that were home, you're on Facebook, right? So the power of that social media, being able to put videos of yourself out. Chelsea has, right? She's killing it with that small videos on Spotify, doing podcasts.
Oh my God.
And whatever the link is from
And that's just so powerful because it's in front of people. People are on Facebook, people are on Twitter, people are on LinkedIn. You have to have profiles on all those websites, whether you post stuff in there or not. But the social media, that source is so powerful. It's proven to be a great tool for relationship building in personal and professional ways. You know, being able to show yourself as a human, as your family, and also stuff that you do in business to bring value. These methods help avail us to stay connected. You know, you learn how to use it to reveal your most authentic self, and that's a powerful way to earn people's business. It's time the real estate pros know what kind of posts work simply beyond promoting just your listings. So that's just videos, 30-second clips. Hey, I'm with my kid at the field. Hey, I'm putting up my sign. It's just something that you're doing, like while you're driving. Well, this is what I'm doing. I had this real estate conversation. It's really, really powerful. So yeah, if you're going to do that, you are going to get leads, and people will know you a lot more. Okay, with all these different modes of communication, you're giving clients more opportunities to see you, hear you, and feel like they know you before you even step into the virtual room or in their living room. So that kind of just builds off of what we just talked about, the power of social media, making videos, sending videos to people. It's just that it's going a lot further because people are in front of the computer a lot more now because they have the time. Anybody have any ahas or any points that they want to point out, or any changes that they've done here in the past few months that they'd like to share? Anybody? Okay. So let's work on, let's maybe do some homework. If you can, let's try and everybody try and post one video or one something different other than posting a listing on one of your pages or one of your sources. See if you can get any type of business. Go on Twitter. I mean, go on Twitter and post something on Twitter. See if you get anything on it.
Well, just on LinkedIn, I just updated. So my previous, so I updated to real estate.
Right. Okay.
And so I have all of these contacts that are massage therapy related. And one girl, you know, she's like, so you're in real estate now? What's the Charlotte market like? So we started that conversation, and so we've begun communicating.
Did we lose our shredder?
Awesome. That's all, and that's just by updating a profile that you already have. Excellent. Keep doing that. So, and do you have a Twitter profile?
I don't have Twitter.
Okay.
Oh, it's not.
Instagram, you're playing around. Right. Okay.
I'm enlisting my children to
Right.
show me the way.
Okay. Well, that's good.
You know.
Well, so again, just at least you have there. Put your name, cell phone number, email address. You know, make one post. Who knows if something goes in there? Hashtag Charlotte Market or something like that. You just never know. So keep
It's not gonna hurt.
It's not going to
free.
hurt. It's free, exactly. And when you do get that one listing, you know, post it on Twitter and Facebook. When you finally get those technology stuff linked out,
Yeah.
one post goes on everywhere. Then post a video of yourself. I don't know.
Now we're hold on.
Exactly, but that's the next level. If you just post the listing, that's what everybody does. Look at these. Just one little 30-second clip. I know you got to step it out of that comfort
I think
range.
we need to bring Chelsea in to give us some
Right?
inspiration.
You know,
She's really doing well. with
she's
that.
doing, but if you look at some of her first videos to look now, and it's only been like a couple of weeks that she's been doing it consistently, and she's improved so much better since just now. So it's just like practice and time going on. But awesome. I think it's gonna. I mean, I know it's gonna take you out of that comfort zone, but if it's gonna get some results from it, then I think it's worth it. Okay, moving on here. All right, let's talk about this last. This is going to be a buyer and seller situation. And here's the headliner. Can the buyer recover the due diligence fee based on a listing agent's misrepresentation? So I have a buyer who hired a home inspector shortly after getting the home under contract. The inspector's report commented on the roof. He noted that while a small portion of the roof is new, a significant portion is estimated to be 15 years old and in poor condition. My client was shocked because the public remarks in the MLS stated everything new, including roof and HVAC. My client decided to terminate the contract, and he asked me if he can recover his due diligence fee from the seller. He said that had he known the true age of the roof, he would have taken that fact into consideration when making his offer. So does the listing agent's statement in the MLS listing give a client a basis to demand the return of his due diligence fee from the seller? All right, so what do we think? Anybody have any ideas at first without looking at the answer?
I'd say not from the seller, but from the agent.
Okay. What do you think, Pam?
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, was there, and you may have said I might have missed it, but was there a problem with the roof?
Okay.
Was it leaking?
Okay, it doesn't say, good point. And it also doesn't say what they wrote on the property disclosures. You know, that it just says that the listing agent in the MLS stated all knew everything, including roof and HVAC.
So we don't know if
We
the
don't-
homeowner misrepresented.
True, we don't know. We don't know. This is with the ML, and we don't know what what it says. So when the buyer said, "Whoa, you know, this is coming back," now I'm not sure what they said. What the buyer agent said to the seller, "Hey, we found out the roof is here. We want to terminate, or can we fix, or whatnot." It doesn't say that, but they terminated, and that's what it is. So then he said, "Hey, they misrepresented that. Can I get my due diligence money back?" Okay, so here's the answer. Well, first thing, let me say one thing is the worst thing that the seller could do if we were in this case and you're the buyer's agent and you ask the seller, say, based on this information, we want our due diligence money back. You know, the worst that the seller can do is say no. So if you don't ask, the buyer agent doesn't ask, then, you know, right, it doesn't matter. You're not doing your buyer any type of circumstance. So if you put some information, you put that as a backup information to present that, maybe that's the case. Now, at me, I was mostly a listing agent. Have I had some buyers come up to me and say, we want our due diligence back? It's happened twice. Once they did give it back, and it was actually with Terry Rogers in this office. Several years back, it was like an investment property, and there was an underlying issue that the seller didn't know. And then she went away for a month and then came back. And then when it went under, it was just a weird thing. And Terry's investor said, well, because of that, we want the due diligence back. And the seller said, yes. So it looked like $100, something like that. And then the other case, I forget why, but the buyer won. They were mad about something, and that seller said no. You know, its property is just as is. So if they didn't ask, I mean, it is what it is. If they didn't ask and put your case together, you're never going to know. So the worst that they can do is say no, just to keep that out there. So brokers are not lawyers. If asked for an opinion on a client's legal rights, a broker should remind their client of the fact. Nevertheless, it's helpful for brokers to understand the factors that a judge would consider in a situation like ones you've described. After all, if the seller refuses a buyer's demand for a refund of the due diligence fee, the buyer's only recourse would be to sue, and it would be able to a judge to decide. Okay? So the buyer's due diligence fee is generally non-refundable. There are exceptions. As an example of the standard form on the offer to purchase, if the seller materially breaches the contract, means like they can't give a clear title. They have they breach the contract and they cause the factor of not being able to close. Then and the buyer elects to terminate the contract as a result of the seller's breach, then the buyer is entitled to a refund of the due diligence fee along with other remedies. So here in this situation, your client's claim would not be based on a seller's breach of contract. Instead, it would be based on the conduct of the seller's agent, right? So under North Carolina law, that's enough. There are at least 2 reported decisions by the North Carolina courts, including one by the Supreme Court, holding that a seller of real estate is bound by his agent's material representations of facts to the same extent as if he made them himself. So these cases hold that the seller can be held liable for the misrepresentations of his listing agent. So North Carolina recognizes the 2 types of misrepresentation. One is fraudulent, intentional misrepresentation, and one is for negligent misrepresentation. So in order to establish a negligent misrepresentation, the client must show that he was justifiably relied to his detriment on the information prepared without reasonable care by one who owned and relied a party of duty of care. In your case, we believe that the seller has a plausible claim for negligent misrepresentation against the seller. And as the first element, your client can argue that his reliance on the listing agent's representation was justified because it was not reasonable to expect the buyer, because it is not reasonable to expect the buyer to inspect the roof before entering into the contract. So to establish detriment, your client would merely have to allege the loss of his due diligence fee, and to show the listing agent showed a duty of care to him, your client would cite the license law, which imposes a duty on licensees to disclose material facts, not just to their clients, but to all persons with whom the broker deals. So providing reasonable care element would be the most difficult hurdle. It would be up to a judge to determine whether the listing agent acted with reasonable care when he advertised in the MLS that the roof was new without first confirming the accuracy of that representation. So again, that just needs to be, just wanted to pull this up because as a listing agent, you're responsible for what you're writing in the MLS reports. On the bottom, it says, you know, these items are deemed reliable, but not guaranteed. But if you're saying all new roof and only a portion of it is, you have to really try and be as specific as possible. So the reason why I bring this up is we're just, again, taking extra steps to cover yourself as a listing agent to make sure you're marketing and representing the property in its true form. And as a buyer's agent, again, you're doing all your information to represent this buyer. And in this case, if that was going to be, I would go to the listing agent based on all of this information, your property's inspection report, and all that type of information that the buyer did during their due diligence, and certainly ask for it. All right, does anybody have any questions or ahas about this situation? And do you think that's right? You agree with that? Okay, so I mean, again, it's up to it. The only way really to get the due diligence is to sue. And if that's the case, you better have a strong case. So the buyer's due diligence fee allows them the due diligence time frame, and it allows the buyer to back out. They can back out for a reason or no reason at all. So again, what we talked about earlier, there's no set due diligence number. I mean, it's all negotiable, and it depends on what the seller is doing, depending on what the seller's, where the seller's point of view is. Some sellers, like I said, want a lot of due diligence because it shows the buyer has skin in the game. Some buyers will eliminate their sale price. They come down on sale price if that due diligence is higher. And remember, when you're competing against other properties or buyers against buyers, it's always about, you know, it's not always price, it's terms and conditions. You got to take all three of those factors: price, terms, and conditions. Some you might have to give on some of them. May have to pay a higher price to get a better terms and conditions. So you have to negotiate those three items, give and take on where you're from. And obviously, there's a middle ground for the buyers and the sellers, and that's your job to find that spot. All right, let's leave. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to leave it open here. Is there any questions and answers that we want to go over? Any hurdles that you're coming across with right now? Or does anybody have any suggested topics that they want me to address for the next meeting? I have one of the home warranty companies. She wants to speak and kind of discuss how some of the benefits of a home warranty as a listing and the benefits and the steps to go as a buyer. Do you think that would be beneficial if we had her talk?
Well, I was going to make a suggestion. We were talking a lot about Twitter and Instagram and technologies other than Facebook. I would like to see stuff like that. I don't know if they'll start a wizard and it doesn't care, but I'm fine.
Okay. So when I mentioned that,
You baby.
Lindsay probably has some good. So now when I say like go to all these, maybe I'll make a list of all they are. I mean, I would go to Google right now and put real estate websites, and every single one that came, I would click on them and click create profile, and just put, and then if they're free, like I know on Zillow and Trulia, Realtor.com is through them. It would be through there. Yahoo Real Estate. I would go on Yelp, any place that you can put reviews, and just create a free profile. Now, those are all when you search, somebody goes like you should, if you ever, that's up to you. But create your free profile on as many sites as possible. And then as you get better with real estate or you get better with these technology or you have more listings and you go back, or maybe you grow bigger, you have an admin that can go to adjust all these sites and stuff like that. I know it's just like so many different things you got to do, but if you go there, if at least you're there, but I'll put out a list of some places that you should definitely be on just for that exposure. All right. And is anybody holding any open houses this weekend? Now your listing is going to go in today. What price point is your listing?
It's $298.
$298. Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm not sure. Where is that?
Like 10 minutes from Dover.
10 minutes from Dilworth. Okay.
It's on.
By Myers Park,
It's off Park Road.
Okay.
down south by me.
Okay.
It's actually a really good area.
Nice. Okay. 298. Awesome. Okay. So are you planning on doing an open house on it?
I'm not this weekend, but in the future.
If it's not under contract already? Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Is anybody else? Susie or Kyle or David, you guys doing any open houses this weekend?
I'm not doing an open house, but I did have a question.
Okay.
On the offer to purchase, it says that you can, as far as for methods to pay, the due diligence and earnest money, electronic payment is on there as an option. Can you tell me what is the process to go about doing an electronic payment?
I'm sorry, you broke out. So the earnest money and the due diligence electronically.
Yeah,
Can
I'm
I
sorry.
what?
I was using my microphone. I took them out. Can you hear me better now?
Yep. Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. So on the
Can you hear us,
offer to
Susie?
purchase, it says that you can pay using a electronic payment, and I was wondering what the process is of doing the electronic payment.
Right. Okay, so the only thing that you can do in electronic payment right now would be the earnest money deposit. Your client could wire that, and that would go to the closing attorney. And so you would have to get the wiring instructions from that closing attorney. And that buyer would pretty much, I think, will pretty much have to line everything up with that attorney, and so that they can set up the wiring for the funds directly to them.
Oh, yeah. So
only
like,
the
but
earnest money
on the
deposit
form,
can
it
be
says
paid
that you can do wire
We can't
or
pay due diligence
electronic.
electronic.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I guess that's the same thing. If you wire or electronic,
No,
I mean, I guess
no,
that's, you can only
like-
do it with the earnest money deposit.
Wouldn't electronic be like like an ACH or something like that?
yeah, like electronic can be like Zelle. So like on the form, it says you could do or electronic or wire, and he was wanting to do electronic. And I talked to Carrie, I texted Carrie over the weekend, and she said that as far as McNaught's concerned, that they don't do electronic, they just do the wire. But I was talking to Tommy here in the office a little bit ago, and he said that he just had an offer go through where he did electronic for both due diligence and earnest money. But I guess somebody else must have helped him with it because he didn't know the process for doing it. So it sounds like it's possible. I just don't know how to go about doing it.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the difference between electronic and wire. I mean, I guess it's the same.
So say if you do Zelle, say I wanted to pay you $100, Rob. If you gave me your phone number, then I could use the Zelle app, and with your phone number, with the Zelle app, I could send you $100.
And that's not secure. So that earnest money's got to go directly with the closing attorney, and they're not going to accept the Venmo. So you're going to have to do a wire. Unless you find a closing attorney that'll accept that, but they'll do a wire. It's the same exact thing. It comes from their bank and it goes directly. Then once they receive the money in their account, they'll sign paper. You got to line that up with the actual closing attorney because they have the routing number and wiring instructions that's going to be required. But we're not going to do due diligence to the seller because we can't track it. And I want you to actually then deliver the physical check for the due diligence. So we have copies of that. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for showing up. We have 5 more minutes here until the next meeting. So they're going to get up in here and get started. And again, if you have any other questions or anything, come on in, set up here in the office. I have no problems with that. we're gaining some traction. A lot of you guys are doing some. So have a great day. I'll see you in a few minutes at the office meeting. You're welcome.
Thanks, Rob.